What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to give you my reaction review of X-Men 97 Season 2, Episode 6, Danger.exe. Well, I can say that the episode title spoiler that happened about 2 weeks ago kind of tipped me off to what this was. And this was a actual Danger episode where the Danger Room became pretty much sentient and came alive and really tried to put the X-Men through their paces. Now, while that is what happened, the background of this story is such that a lot of things seem like they were being prepped, and I can feel myself being anxious. Is that this is how we get to Onslaught? Is this how we get to Onslaught? Is this how we get there? And I think this is more so because this episode is one that is written by Bo DeMeo, but it also has a and so and so and so and so. So two other people on this episode with their names on it as well. Right? Which means I think this is the point at which Bo left the show. I think that's what it is. This has to be the point where he left the show. And then these two other writers came in to finish up this damn story. Because while this episode, in the beginning parts of it, moves along like a Bo DeMeo episode, was establishing stuff and he's going through things, right? Xavier is actually using the Danger Room to have what he would consider therapy, and I would consider a bad freaking idea, which is constantly going through the moment where Apocalypse killed Magneto. Now, because it was a very traumatic moment, I do believe in some senses in cognitive behavioral therapy. That particular moment, I wouldn't have chose. I'd pick something else. Because my apprehension is knowing where Xavier gets to after this, right? And that's where my apprehension with it comes in. Is like, yeah, but you probably don't want to push in that way, even though I want what happens afterwards. It's a weird thing, right? I'm caring about the character, and I'm not wanting to see him do more damage to himself, even though I know the damage that he does do to himself eventually emerges and threatens to take out everything. It's just what it is. Now, because of that, that part of the story seems concise, but the other part of the story that happens is Lorna Dane, Polaris, getting kicked out of X Factor because she went a little bit too gung-ho on a group of purifiers, and really wrestling with the fact that she has to control her powers, and letting it be known in this universe, at least now, that she is Magneto's daughter. Now, that is something that took a while to establish in the comic books, and the way they did it in this show, the idea shows up in this episode and moves right to, well, I am. That seems pretty fast. Pretty fast. Because that happens so quickly, it leads me to believe somebody else is writing this. Because everybody who comes on to do episodes so far in this, in 6 episodes, you can see it. Anybody else who writes one of these episodes, everything is rushed. Everything is rushed. They're just getting right to it, and there's no lead up or anything. Now, the other thing that makes me believe that this episode was really had somebody else's hands on it is the push of the women while the male characters just stand around. Now, this could have been a Bo DeMeo idea originally. I'm pretty sure, because who else would even think of using Danger in anything? But The fact that you have a mixed up team of kids, basically mostly Gen X kids and some of the Warren Ellis, astonishing X Men kids, right? Or at least Quentin Quire and blah, whatever his name is, and Pixie. But then you have the Generation X kids that are there in Chamber, Penance, and my favorite, Sync. It seems like a lot of stuff thrown together, and everything is happening really quick with them. It's like, oh, well, they're just in the danger room now. Well, why are they just in the danger room now? I said this during my Patreon stream, is that although they might all be mutants, everybody is not an X-Man. An X-Men is something that you earn. You train for and you earn. It's not just something that happens because you showed up to the mansion and got a room. No, it's a school first. Your graduation is becoming like X-Men. Everybody just don't get that title. You just don't. This was played up a lot more when you had Sam Guthrie Cannonball move from being a new mutant and on X-Force with Cable to actually becoming an X-Man at the school with Charles. It was a graduation in a sense. You were stepping up to this top tier of mutant talent. Not just because you showed up and everybody get that title. No. You can buy the apparel, you can wear the clothes, but that'll make you a damn X-Man. It actually means something, a little bit more. So in this episode, I saw a lot of that. A lot of rushed content, a lot of rushed characters, a lot of mashed together stuff with really no explanation of who these people are. They didn't even use their names. Didn't. All these new mutants on the screen, you never hear anyone actually speak to them by their names. Even though, in most of Bo DeMayo's episodes, one thing I always hear with my ear is that people say each other's names. They always say each other's names. They talk to each other and use each other by their familiar names. You don't hear that with the rest of these people. You get to see them, so it's eye candy. And you can see in the next episode, you still won't know who the hell they are if you don't read comic books and know, okay, that's this person, that's this person, that's this person. This is showing me that the other two people who wrote, quote unquote, this episode are the ones who start forcing all that stuff together. Now, I don't have a problem with Danger being in it. It was kind of on the nose when you have the title, what it is. If you've read any X-Men books in the last, 10, 15 years, it's kind of on the nose. But having Danger show up, go after Xavier, Lorna leave X Factor, and then come back to the mansion and be there with Xavier, and she's one of the top students, to then going off, and Jean is kind of in the background, Scott's kind of in the background, Beast is kind of in the background, Bishop is kind of in the background, Morph is left somewhere, Forge is left somewhere. Like, so it's the Lorna and Danger show in this episode? I don't seem to remember that level of stilting even in the first season with the Goblin Queen. I don't remember seeing that kind of stilting. It's like it really leaned chick. It really leaned feminist. Even though, make no mistake about it, X-Men has some of the best female characters in it. Some of the most powerful, some of the most fan favorites, straight up. But this felt a little weird. It felt a little weird because people were just standing off to the side or playing a support role. And that smacks of somebody else's writing to me. It just does. Now, going through the episode, Charles is trying to deal with the loss of Magnus and what it means and how he goes forward from this. Lorna is trying to find her place in what she was doing and understanding who she is owning who she is, which she should already be able to do, right? But the episode lets you know how powerful she can be, right? I'm just waiting for her to put on her daddy's helmet and become the mistress of magnetism and get it over with. I like Lorna. I like Polaris. I do. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Just, when you get to it, get to it. We rushing in this episode because you find out she might be related to Magneto. She is related to Magneto. Yes, she is his daughter. And all this in the same episode. That didn't even have time to bake, man. I mean, Jiffy Pop don't even pop that quick. They just threw it all out there. Doesn't strike me as being a Bo situation. Now, you get those two stories going on outside of Charles really trying to figure out how he goes forward. And in trying to figure that out, he goes back to Genosha to see if he can find some clues about what he is supposed to do first with Magneto being gone. Now, in this episode, Charles speaks a lot to feeling Magneto, him inside of his head, what he remembers, what he felt, and stuff like that. And to me, those are all breadcrumbs and straight up boulders thrown at you to say something's gonna go bad with him. Something's gonna go bad with him. It's all the leading in the footsteps to eventually getting the onslaught, because there's something in Xavier's head from Magneto, even to the point that while in Genosha being attacked by Danger, because Danger gets herself a form and chases after Xavier to Genosha. Xavier and Polaris actually join hands, and Xavier pours his feelings and his thoughts and his stuff that he touched with Magneto's mind to Lorna to help her level up her powers to defeat Danger. To understand she is his child. She has the same connection to the magnetic fields as he did. So she can be just like him. This sounds like some MCU shit, right? But it's from the comics, so she can be that damn strong. I'd have liked it better if he was there trying to teach her, but he has to come back first. Just saying. But that whole situation of Xavier sharing with her the parts of Magneto that were in his mind is like, bro, are we about to see him turn right now? And this is what I mean. It's just all this apprehension that they keep throwing these stones at you, that apocalypse is coming. And there is some of Magneto inside of Xavier's mind. And Xavier speaking to it blatantly, which doesn't sound like Bo DeMeo writing to me. Sounds like somebody else that just wants to hit you over the head with you. We got it. It's coming. Which that might be the Brad Winderbaum dude. But with that being said, the X-Men win the day. They do defeat Danger, and Charles figures out what he wants to do in Magneto's honor. So they set up shop in Genosha and start X-Corp. Now, this is the time frame dealing with the Warren Ellis run of X-Men that I really didn't read X-Men that often. I liked Warren Ellis, but in the comic books at this time, Marvel, to me, had pulled some dirty stuff, which is they got him off of doing the books that he was working on, which was The Authority, and got him over to write the X-Men. And that's when you had the glow up of Emma Frost, the diamond form, the puffy coat era, the bare-chested Wolverine with the leather jacket on. That's where all this stuff came from. So by the time you get to Genosha, these X-Men, or at least the core members of the X-Men, the originals, have on the Warren Ellis costumes and stuff. Like, okay, all well and good. And now we have X-Corp here. Fine, whatever. Where is it going to go from here? Now, this just showed up in the episode. You see it at one moment dressed one way, they hop on a plane, they get to Genosha, they're in Genosha, they got a whole new wardrobe. You don't know why, you don't know the significance of it. They just have a new wardrobe all of a sudden. That doesn't strike me as being any Beau DeMayo writing. Something like that, I think, would have been noticed or at least acknowledged in some kind of way. Not just from one scene to the next. Oh, they got new costumes. Why? Don't know. They don't explain it either. So it is what it is. I've never seen Jean Grey be so weak. Scott either. I mean, Beast got taken down with one blast from a Danger Room robot. And they was out of it. So it was girls get it done time. That don't seem right. But it is what happened. So as an episode, I will probably rank this one right next to the last one. That yes, it had a little bit more of Beau DeMayo in it, but it does seem like this is the point at which he was out and somebody else was taking over. Because every time I see one of these titles before the episode starts and it says written by, and it's Beau DeMayo's name and one other person, two other people, it reminds me of the fact that one of the main things they wanted to do when they fired him was take his name off the credits, that he would lose his writing credits if he kept talking about what happened. And the only thing that would have served is on an episode like this, you would have had Brad's name there and that chick's name there. Beau DeMayo's name wouldn't have been on it anywhere. Even with, the two best episodes so far. Rise of Apocalypse 1 and 2. So this lets me know why they were pushing so hard on this. Some of this stuff is actually awesome. It is. But it's not the shit they wrote. It's not. So the sticking point, if you got an ego-ish problem, is to take him off of it. So you could just stand out there in front of his work and pretend like you did it. Apparently he shut up long enough to still have his name on the credits. Good. But I can tell you, Tempo, at least for this X-Men show, Tempo tells it all. Tempo tells it all. And I'm not talking about the mutant. Tempo tells it all in these episodes. You can tell when Beau is writing, and you can tell when he's not. Because as soon as he's not, everything just happens, shit is just thrown in there or whatever. It's like the dang dishwasher is running. Then we keep making more dishes. Just throw it in there. So it was a decent episode. There was some stuff in there that I was really interested in, but it got short shrift to push this other stuff forward. Awesome. Did we need a Polaris episode right after we had an X Factor episode with X-Force? No, I don't see why she needed her own solo episode. Just to establish a new magnetically powered person? No, that doesn't make any sense. Let's move forward on the actual real story. Because the better part of this episode, that would have been the greater part of this episode, is they did it right, which was you actually got to see Apocalypse revive Gambit. But it's just left to the end. And that's it. So it makes me think this first portion of this, Beau wrote. This part with Gambit, he wrote or was writing. The shit in the middle is what they strung together with Lorna. That's what it looks like to me. Because that Gambit stuff should have been its own episode. Just like his death was its own episode. The revival Probably should have been too. But what do I know? I'm just a fan. I have no insider credit. I just have read some things. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. If you want to check out the Patreon stream, the link is in the description. Go to Shop Talk with Artisan MC. Join. It's cheap, like $10 a month. It's not that big of a deal, and you can get these unfiltered, uncensored, as they happen videos and reactions to the stuff. Don't be disappointed if I don't emote like someone younger. But I do have my cracks and my witticisms. But that's it. I'm getting out of here. Thank you guys for watching this. Like, share, subscribe, support the channel if you feel so inclined. $, Artisan MC on Cash App or Artisan MC on PayPal or Venmo. And I will see you next time. Peace.